NJWEEDMAN acquitted. Now, that was an article on October the 19th, 2012, just 4 months ago. Now, today is March 15th, 2013, and I just got out of jail. I just spent the last 46 days in jail. I'm saying, how could that be? You got acquitted. Yeah, not only did I get acquitted, you know, when, like front page paper, no one believed I was going to win because I used my Weedman defense, what I called, my open advocation of jury nullification. You know, all the newspapers in the area followed my case, you know, paper after paper, headline after headline. I'm not a weirdo, I'm a hero, you know? Again, that's the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Trentonian, on the front page. Holy smoke. And of course, then the article is, Weedman found not guilty. It was just Google it. I mean, it's a dozen articles in this area in New Jersey alone that covered my case. More than a dozen. My case caught some national attention, so there's newspapers all across the country who followed my case, and I won. It didn't surprise me. Apparently, it surprised everyone else. It pissed off the prosecution, pissed off state officials, which leads me to my lady's incarceration. All right, I was, I was convicted of misdemeanor possession of marijuana, but I was found not guilty of the possession with intent to distribute. Now, which is very, very important, because the larger case could have put me in prison. The smaller case wouldn't have put me in jail pretty much under any circumstances, but I just found out one of those circumstances. But, I had a lot of press, a lot of support from the public. I mean, my whole jury nullification argument, look at the Trentonian writing. Don't like marijuana or other laws? Change them. This is an article a column actually, by Jeff Edelstein, who basically talked about my whole advocation of jury nullification. He's another one. Hadn't heard of jury nullification before. They came across me in my argument. So I've enlightened a lot of people in this area. A lot of people across the country who never knew anything about jury nullification. And because of my advocation for this jury nullification, people were like, what the hell is he talking about? At one point, here's an article just before my trial started. Weedman seeking pothead. Because I kept saying I only need one. And that's all I need. I need one person on my jury who believes marijuana should be legal. That's kind of a great headline. First of all, I don't think of a pothead as a negative. Pothead to me is a positive person. A great person. You're going to be a negative. Call him a Republican. Call him a Republican or something. But anyway, I was actively seeking a pothead. I thought I'd get a hung jury. As it turned out, I got a total vindication. I got 12-0. And when I went to sentencing, I pretty much knew I wasn't going to go to prison. I knew I wasn't. By the way, Jeff Edelstein, after my verdict, then he even wrote another one. Jury upends marijuana law. NJWEEDMAN walks free. Which was great. Again, talking about jury nullification. I did what I said I was going to do. Now, when I went to sentencing on January 16th, a couple things happened that day. The sentencing hearing. First of all, the public defender who was assigned to assist me without my support or even knowledge filed a petition to the judge asking for probation. In no way would I be asking for probation. To be honest with you, I wanted the judge to set aside the conviction. That's what I had asked for. But somehow he filed it. No problem. Went to the sentencing. The judge sentenced me to 2 years probation. You know? Weedman, probation for Weedman. And I thought, okay, two years probation. But I was going to file a motion. I said I was filing a motion for reconsideration. What I asked for was a stay of sentence pending the appeal. On my appeal, trust me, I believe I'm going to win. The judge made so many mistakes, so many obvious mistakes, so many constitutional errors that my trial could be considered nothing but unconstitutional and unfair. The fact that I won the big part of the case and got found not guilty just goes to the heart of jury nullification, the fact that the jurors rejected the government's position, the government's law. Okay? They rejected that. But somehow they negotiated a deal and found me guilty of simple possession. No problem. I looked at that as a kind of a godsend anyway. Okay? I didn't think I was going to go to prison or jail for it. Okay, no problem. But the good part was I get to proceed through the appellate court with my constitutional arguments. I get to argue these things where the judge tried to stop me from utilizing jury nullification. So now that's going to be part of my appeal process. And in the appeal process, the appeal rulings are basically turned into law. You know, so there's going to be some rulings about that jury nullification arguments that the judge tried to stop me on, which will make some type of clarification in the law here in New Jersey about jury nullification, which I think is great. I've been just as much a jury nullification advocate as I've been a legalization advocate. So if now I get to proceed through the appellate court with the jury nullification argument, so be it. That's great. That's great. So that's how I looked at it. I looked at my appeal. The prosecutor didn't like it. The prosecutor was pissed off that the judge wasn't giving me any time. You know, law enforcement in general totally didn't like my arrogance. The fact that I was so confident that I was not going to be convicted. I mean, there are headlines of newspapers. The Trentonian, for instance, I can't find it right now, but it's around here somewhere. The Trentonian, you know, I said publicly, you know, on videotape, during an interview, during jury selection, that I was conviction proof. I didn't think I'd go to jail. So law enforcement totally didn't like it. And I mean, not just law enforcement like in cops on the street, because I think a lot of them agree with me, but the lawyers, the prosecutors, the very high up type of judges didn't like my public advocacy of jury nullification because it undermines their tyranny. But anyway, so let's bring us here to January 16th, when I was sentenced to 2 years probation. I told the public defender, I told the probation officers that I was filing a stay of sentence. Since the judge rejected my motion for a stay of sentence, he accepted the lawyer's request for a petition for probation, but he rejected my stay of sentence. No problem. You have 30 days to file a motion for reconsideration, and I said I was going to file a motion for reconsideration. Then here's when the sore loserism comes in from law enforcement side. Okay? I didn't report to probation that day on January 16th. The very next morning, on January 17th, apparently the head of the courts, a Judge Grant, a black guy named Judge Grant, I don't know, some sore loserism. I don't know him, the prosecutor. I don't know the exact details. I wasn't sitting in on it. But Judge Grant, apparently, in Trenton, calls down. He's the head of, look him up. He's the acting head of the administrative office of the courts, meaning he is the head judge of New Jersey. And he interceded in my little weed case, you know? How important am I if the head judge of the state of New Jersey wants to intercede in my possession of marijuana conviction? This little case, this little EDB. Apparently it's not a little EDB case. See, I've always told people that the lawyers, the judges, they understand my legal argument. A lot of activists, a lot of the supporters, a lot of the pot smokers or whatever, they don't kind of understand some of my arguments, which is no big deal. But the lawyers do. Some of the reporters do. They understand that my arguments are about changing the law. And I can't snap my fingers. It can't happen overnight. But I've been proceeding legally on a path that is working, you know. And this path, this conviction on this little misdemeanor case, like I said, it helps me to keep going, to proceed through the appellate court. And the fact that I got 12 jurors to say not guilty on the case, on the charge that could have put me in prison, yes, that was great. Now I get to still do my argument, my appeal, my trying to change the law through the appellate courts with a case that didn't even send me to jail. So of course I'm happy. Everything's going my way. But the sore losers undermined everything. The judge made all kinds of statements. Read my statement. I mean, somebody go to the Burlington County Times and the Philadelphia Inquirer and read their January 17th articles. You know, probation for Weedman. In these articles, the judge says, I'm not the type of individual that needs to go to jail. I may be a hardcore recidivist when it comes to marijuana, but I have no rapes, murders, assaults, things like that warrants going to jail. So, okay, and most of my arrests were really protests about marijuana. You know, I got a couple other crappy arrests. I made a dumb mistake one time. I got drunk in Atlantic City while I was gambling and snatched my money back from the table, and I got charged with unlawful taking. Okay, so I got that. I was a truck driver, coast to coast truck driver, and I bought a gun from another truck driver and I had it in my truck. And that truck driver did an insurance job and reported his gun stolen. So then one day when my truck was being searched and my gun was found by the cop, the New Jersey State Trooper, when he ran the numbers, it came out back stolen. So I got a receiving stolen property conviction from 1995 or something like that. And I got a loose dog conviction. My dog got off the chain and I lost my dog, couldn't find it. The dog pound found my dog and I got found guilty of losing my dog or having my dog unchained or something like that. Like, those are the only convictions. I had a lot of arrests for marijuana. Most of them were dismissed because most jurisdiction, or let's say some of them were dismissed because of the jurisdiction didn't want my argument. They didn't want me to proceed with some of my legal arguments, which, like I said, I get to do now. This was the godsend, because in the past there were some of these protests I deliberately would bring marijuana places and smoke publicly, and I would try to proceed through the get to the appellate court and argue certain arguments, certain constitutional challenges. The very scheduling of marijuana is what I wanted to argue. And I was always thwarted because they were always kicked out, thrown away. I wasn't able to proceed. So this conviction for this little itty bitty marijuana possession charge that didn't send me to jail, but was allowing me to go through the appellate court, was a positive thing to me. Well, like I said, the very next day, unknown to me, Judge Grant calls probation, calls the prosecutor's office, and Judge Delahaye. And then they have a ex parte hearing. That's a hearing where one party's not there. See, I wasn't there. I had no idea that the prosecutor was basically and essentially having a hearing with the judge about me. and was asking the judge to in fact issue a warrant for my arrest as a fugitive of justice. What? Less than 24 hours before that, the judge is praising me, saying that I should not be in jail. I'm not the type of person who goes to jail. And then this judge, we talk about black on black crime. Then this Judge Grant, calls down to Burlington County from Trenton, stirs up all this crap. The judge then turns around, holds a ex parte hearing, because that's what it's called, and I will be filing an ethics complaint against Judge Delahaye for holding such a hearing, where at the end of the hearing, I'm issued a warrant for my arrest. And unbeknownst to me, no one told me I had an arrest. No one told me that this hearing was going on. If I knew there was a hearing, I would have showed up. I traveled back and forth across the country for 3 years, 2.5 years, almost 3 years. I made every single hearing. I was late once or twice. Like flew into the Philadelphia airport at 7 o'clock in the morning, and was a few minutes late to my 9 o'clock hearing in Burlington County. Other than that, I made every single hearing. One time I was so broke at the beginning of my trial. I was so broke, I basically hitchhiked across the country in my car. And I say hitchhiked across the country because I had this thing, I called it PayPaling for a pothead, where I left LA with like $100, enough gas to get to Las Vegas, and all across the country I was making YouTubes asking people to donate money into my gas tank, into my checking account, so I can buy gas to make it all the way across the country so I can go to my trial. I call it PayPaling for a pothead, but the fact of the matter is I was so broke, but I wanted to make it to trial on time, that I left 20 days in advance, and it took me 11 days to get all the way across the country like that. PayPal, but I made it. The point of the matter is I made it every single time. I made it to court. I would have went to that hearing on January 17th if I was told about it. I wasn't told about it. I didn't know anything about it. Throughout these proceedings, I've dotted my I's and crossed my T's, because I know that their law enforcement don't like me. In fact, after my acquittal, the DEA out in Los Angeles came after me again. I've had one issue after another issue with law enforcement because they don't like that I tell the truth. That's exactly the problem. Because if you could look back through my 15, 16 years of activism, I constantly tell the truth about marijuana. And see, it's the government, it's law enforcement who lie. They constantly lie, even about what marijuana is. They say marijuana has no medical value. It's a Schedule I drug, and that's why it's illegal, and you can't use it. I don't want to laugh out loud, but that is a flat-out lie. Marijuana is one of the greatest therapeutic substances on the planet. 16 states in the United States have, including New Jersey, have recognized marijuana has medicinal value. Why anybody still gets arrested and charged with violating a criminal statute that says marijuana has no medicinal value is incredible. I have no idea how they get away with that. But this, again, one of my appeal issues. But I've constantly told the truth about marijuana, and this irritates law enforcement. They have their, the marijuana prohibition is the backbone of the war on drugs. Law enforcement is so entrenched into the war on drugs that if the war on drugs disappeared, huge amounts of funding would disappear. Prisons would be unoccupied. I call the prison system the 21st century concrete plantation system would cease to exist. But anyway, so back to the story. January 17th, I'm issued a warrant. I don't know anything about it. Meantime, I'm trying to get myself together as far as going back to California to get my medical treatment. I'm a bone cancer patient. By the way, where's that at? I'm a bone cancer Can't really see it on here, but this here is an x-ray of my leg. Right here, this dark spot, if you can see it, is bone tumor I have. I have a couple of them on me. That's the one that hurts. That's the one that's really getting treated right now. But anyway, I was supposed to go back to California to get my bone cancer treatment. Judge knew about it. Judge Delahy, I'm talking about, totally knew about it. The prosecution knew about it. The probation department knew about it. Everyone knew about it. Judge gave me permission to do it. Somehow, I am then issued a warrant for my arrest. No one tells me. I get to the airport, and just before I get on my plane to go see the doctor, to go get my treatment in California, I'm arrested. I'm arrested. What? Yeah. So I end up in jail in Philadelphia. I have to get extradited, so it takes a little while for extradition proceeding. I mean, I was totally down on leaving and going back to Jersey that day, but anyway, I had to wait about 3 weeks in Philadelphia's filthy prisons before I finally got transported to New Jersey's prisons. When I get to New Jersey, oh man. Oh, yeah, here's another article. Weedman gets probation. There's a front page or two, which I got a lot of front page articles, to be honest with you. But anyway, Weedman jailed after probation violation arrest. That's how law enforcement termed. They tried to justify their sore loserism. Like I said, it took me 3 weeks to get extradited. NJWEEDMAN waives extradition. Yeah, I did. Send me back to Jersey. Get me out of this filthy Philadelphia prison. I get to New Jersey. Again, it's about 3 weeks. First time I go to the hearing before the judge there. What? Weedman denied bail. So I had to sit a couple more weeks until I finally get a hearing on the 12th of March. And prior to the hearing, there was a whole bunch of little talking back and forth. Let me tell you, I was in the back in a cell, and the lawyer was running back and forth between me and the judge and the prosecutor, working out a deal. Basically, it's not a deal. When you're in a cage and you have cancer and you need to go see your doctor, and they're holding you there with threats of, if you don't take this deal, you're going to get stuck in jail. You can get up to 18 months. And, listen, I've been very, very defiant over the years. I totally believe in civil disobedience, and I've had plenty of civil disobedience acts. I don't believe in capitulation, so I wasn't taking a plea deal. I don't believe in cooperation, so I'm not snitching. But here I am now. I've already beat the state and whooped them pretty good in public. I've embarrassed them. Here I am, a pothead, black dude, dreads. To them, I don't have that appearance. I don't fit their stereotype of a educated man, of a man who could work his way through the court system and beat a prosecutor. Pretty good prosecutor too, by the way. Mr. Luciano is pretty good, and he's pretty good at putting people in jail for rapes, murders, robberies, things like that. No match for me. Why? Because I got the truth on my side. The law that he's trying to enforce is a lie, and to present it to the public in a way that I did, he's like a kindergartner against a college-educated dude, when it's actually the other way around. He's the college-educated dude. He went to law school. He's been practicing law for the last 15 years or whatever, however long. But yet, he lost to me. He didn't just lose to me, though. Burlington County Prosecutor's Office didn't just lose to me. The state of New Jersey got their ass whooped by me. That's what it really was. That's why Judge Grant came in. He had to give me some type of punishment. He could not see how, wait a minute, this man has been flaunting the law, been talking crap, been shoving it up our asses, and Judge Dillard, he doesn't give him any time. We got to work something out. We got to figure this out. And that's what they did. Sore loserism, you know? That's what they did. They issued this warrant. And basically, I just did 46 days in jail. And, you know, I did 46 days in jail, man. I tell you, I went to prison in 2000 for 18 months. I remember in the beginning I was a little stressed out, but after a while I got used to it. It was like college without women, you know? But I got used to it, but I felt like it was not justified, but I felt like I did something. I took the plea bargain and I went to jail. Okay? Said I'd never take a plea bargain again. In 2002, when I got out, I got charged with advocating criminal activity because I made some pro-legalization commercials. Yeah, look that one up. NJWEEDMAN censorship. Just Google it. NJWEEDMAN censorship. Yeah, in 2002, I wound up spending 5 months in jail from August 19th, 2002 until January 24th, 2003. I was jailed for making commercials advocating legalization of marijuana. Eventually, ultimately, I won that case too. It was another one of them cases where I represent myself, and I won. I had the help of the ACLU that time, but I did represent myself on a writ of habeas corpus that I wrote myself and got before a federal judge, and the federal judge ordered the state of New Jersey to release me. That was an embarrassing loss the state of New Jersey took at the hands of the weed man too. I'm a fighter. I'm a fighter, and that pisses off some of them. But anyway, back to the story again. I was in jail the other day, March 12th, and I'm being told, accept this, accept that, or stay in jail. And I know good and well I'm supposed to be getting my cancer treatments. That's the number one thing. I gotta live to fight another day. So I accepted this stupid deal where publicly now the state gets to put on this farce that now I'm resentenced basically. That's what happened. I get resentenced. NJWEEDMAN gets 9 months. So now the judge withdraws his probation and gives me 9 months. Okay? Quietly though, 2 days later, as you see, I'm here. I'm released. So most people are going to think that I'm still in jail. This headline went all across the country. NJWEEDMAN gets 9 months. So I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people going to think I'm in jail, but no, I'm out of jail. It's March 15th now, so 3 days later, I was released from jail. And, you know, in the next few days or whatever, I'll make my arrangements and I'm going to go to California and get my treatment. I don't know what I'm going to do from there because I've been totally destroyed. You know, as I was fighting this case in the beginning of this case, I was living in LA. I had a dispensary. I had grow operations. I had a little promotions company. I was doing very good. I had my rags to riches story. Not that I was rich yet, but I was getting there. I went from, say, Camden County Jail to Hollywood Boulevard, you know. I was ending up on TMZ, you know. People were looking at me as like this like persona, you know. Spike TV picked me up as the weed connoisseur. I ended up on doing one of those shows. I did a 1,000 Ways to Die episode. I think it was number 243 or something like that. It was on Direct TV, Supreme Court of Comedy. It did a movie, a documentary, How Weed Won the West. I was pitched for a couple reality shows. I was trying to pitch my own reality show, The Weed Mobile. I was pitched for this one reality show called Pot Shop, which eventually they made that shop, Pot Shop. I just didn't, it wasn't me. They got the final, when I realized I was part of this, that selection process, it was 16 shops they were looking at. I made it down to the final 4, you know. and ultimately someone else got it. But you know, that's how I started this case. By the end of the case, I was totally destroyed. I'm like homeless and everything because law enforcement, again, they're sore losers. As I was winning in New Jersey, Michael Luciano, New Jersey law enforcement officials were calling out to California, and the California authorities, the California federal authorities, came and whooped up on me. You know, I felt like I was beating the state of New Jersey, a fair fight, and I was going at it. But as I was winning, the state of New Jersey called their big brother. Governor Christie's office called the big brother Uncle Sam. And Uncle Sam, through the Justice Department, the Injustice Department, the Justice Department, um, the DEA came and raided me, raided my shop, my bank, my grow operations, and basically put me out of business. So I went from at one point being able to fly back and forth across the country, being able to take care of myself, being able to pay child support, but, you know, take care of everything, to struggling just to eat. Almost didn't make it to trial at one point. Like I said, I had to PayPal across the PayPal hitchhike across the country to make it to trial at one point. But I don't care. Through it all, I did not capitulate. I did not cooperate, and I did not get convicted. You know, I fought it all the way out. I feel like a hero. You know, I feel like General MacArthur. You know, he vowed when he got booted out of the Philippines that he'd come back and he'd kick some ass, and that's what I did. You know, I came back, I kicked some ass, I won. You know, I won. Despite this headline from the other day, Weedman gets 9 months in jail. The real story is, I won. I got probation, and the prosecutor's office and Judge Grant, again, I want to research this and figure out exactly where Judge Grant's justification comes to intercede in here or whatever. But I'm going to file an ethics complaint. I'm going to file an ethics complaint on Judge Delahaye for having this ex parte hearing where I was issued a warrant. I'm going to file an ethics complaint on Judge Grant for interfering in this court case. And they have seriously interfered with my health issues. You know, luckily, the experimental drug treatment protocol that I'm involved in will still accept me. If I had missed one more hearing, one more treatment, I would have been kicked out. And trust me, I can't afford to pay for the treatment. This is an experimental treatment and it's free. But this is it's incredible that I came like this close. Like I'm supposed to be there like next week. If I had stayed in jail any longer, I'd have been kicked out. And the alternative treatment to this special treatment that I am getting is surgery. And I've had surgeries before. The surgeries don't work. You know, it comes back. You know, here's, I don't know how clear that is, but here I had surgery where they cut me here, went into the inside of my hip, and took out bone out of the inside of my pelvis. Same thing with my leg previously. Previously, again, I'm not sure how clear this is going to look on webcam, but here's a scar. Bottom of my femur, I had a tumor taken out one time. Right here, it was about that big. And it hurt, it was painful, and you know what? It failed, it came back. And that's why, at this point, I don't want to have surgery again. I have this experimental treatment that I got accepted into. It was a godsend at the time. I really needed it. I want it. This is the preferred treatment. And these jackasses, these state officials, trying to protect their goofy marijuana laws almost killed me, almost ruined my health. You know? Yeah, I can't get even. I can't put them back and put them in jail. We can't trade places. But you know what I can do? I can at least file an ethics complaint. I can complain. I can make something of this. This video for one. Who knows who will see this? I don't know. But I'm writing a book. I get to go back to writing a book. This just adds another chapter or two to it, you know? A nice little picture, a little image of Judge Grant. I really do want to find out about Judge Grant. Like, where'd this jackass, where'd this Uncle Tom come from? The hell? What's his problem? Anyway. So that's the real story, you know? That's the rest of the story.